Before I even say anything, I would like to remind you that the title is in quotation marks, meaning that I'm reciting something that was said. It's not reflective of how I think. I just got to put that out there because a lot of people just click on a video and watch the first few seconds and just comment instantly. But now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the new PokeRev situation. So he dropped a video titled "Pokemon cards are officially cooked," where he was covering the new Pokemon set that was just revealed. In fact, pre-orders of that set was actually just released today as the recording of this video. I did manage to get both of the PC ETBs. In fact, I actually heard that a lot of people managed to get it this time, although there was some complications. A lot of people were having errors and etc. But I'm at least glad that many were fortunate enough to secure some pre-orders. But enough about me, I just wanted to brag a little bit. I'm not gonna dissect Rev's video in its entirety because honestly, it was just him excited about the new set. And in the words of some of the comments, hyping it up, but people were obviously not happy about it. So I'd like to explain the main criticism and the problem some people have, while also providing my own opinion about the topics. From what I understand, there are two main criticisms of PokeRev's video. Number one, PokeRev is hyping up sets and influencing the prices of them. Number two, PokeRev said in his video that we are cooked even though he isn't affected by the lack of products, since he's a famous YouTuber with distribution. Now, let's start off with the first one, and hopefully you'll allow me to provide my point of view of the claim, because I don't really think it's a good one. Now, first off, I haven't seen conclusive proof of the claim. I've not seen once that a Pokemon set like spiked up in value after PokeRev, or any famous YouTuber for that matter, hyped it up. Do I think they play some role in facilitating a massive number of followers? Maybe, but I don't necessarily think that converts to a product spiking up in value. I think it converts to genuine interest, and maybe because of that interest, there are more eyes on the product. But at that point, should the YouTuber be responsible for what their fans do after watching their video? Maybe in some cases, let's say PokeRev tells his audience to buy a product no matter what, and that they need to do it right now. In this case, that would absolutely be considered weaponizing your audience for a goal, and they should absolutely take responsibility for that. But in this case, PokeRev was simply just sharing how excited he was about the set, and how he's worried about that there won't be enough product to go around, which is a separate topic, which is going to be more connected to the second main of criticism. And I also don't think saying, hey, there probably won't be enough product of this set is enough to drive up the prices by any means. Now, the only times where Rev might have indirectly caused the price hike of something was when he was doing a live stream of trying to complete a master set of Lost Origin, and the last card that he couldn't pull, which was the pterodactyl alternate art, I believe, was bought out on TCG Player by money-hungry market manipulators trying to take advantage of this situation. But market manipulation isn't even mutually exclusive to Pokemon YouTubers. In fact, many people unanimously agree that it's quite a big problem that can be achieved very, very easily. All it takes is one group of people, or even one person for that matter, to buy out a single card on TCG Player, and as a result, that card is going to significantly spike in value. Out of the hundreds of times where buyouts and market manipulation occur, for some reason, people only care when a YouTuber is indirectly involved. And I say the word indirectly very, very loosely because Rev was simply opening packs. It was just out of sheer coincidence that the pterodactyl alt art was the one that he couldn't pull. The blame shouldn't be at the YouTuber, it should be at the people taking advantage of the situation and artificially inflating the prices to get a quick buck. Like, what do you expect Rev to do? Just simply not open cards at all and fear that people will take advantage of the situation? Like, I'm not too sure where that logic leads to. That's like blaming an Uber driver who's just doing his job and there so happens to be a drive-by that kills a passenger. By that logic, the driver should be held liable alongside the murderer because he drove the car in which the incident took place in. No, the murderer is the only one liable. The driver was simply just doing his job. And as I mentioned before, this isn't mutually exclusive to YouTubers. It's a widely recognized problem, and 99% of the time, a YouTuber isn't even involved. Also, sealed product are way more difficult to artificially raise in prices. Everybody knows this, it's common knowledge. You really can't do buyouts of booster boxes on TCG Player like you could do with single cards. I also think it's a little bit funny of how all of a sudden people are blaming famous YouTubers like PokeRev or Leonhard for creating hype when they've been doing the same thing for 6+ years. No one was blaming PokeRev a few months ago before the release of Surging Sparks for hyping up the set, when scalping were non-existent, and when products were highly available. Why are they only blaming famous YouTubers now for the problem? And it's not like PokeRev was just a small fry back in the day. He still had 2.5+ million subscribers and was still pulling a similar amount of views that he is now, if not more in some cases. So how come he wasn't influencing the market then? How come products were still available? And it's really a simple answer. It's just simple demand. More people are coming to the hobby, getting interested and buying more. And whenever there is high demand, there will always be people who try to take advantage of that. Scalpers. And not only then, but people who continue to buy from scalpers and validate their price points. The people who buy from scalpers are 1,000 times more responsible for the current climate that we're in than anything PokeRev has done, or any famous YouTuber has done for that matter, in their whole entire career. That is, in terms of impacting the prices of the products. But where is this outrage towards people who keep buying from scalpers and validating their prices? Why does nobody have an issue with them? Oh, because they're forced to buy. Nobody is forcing anyone to buy anything. That's exactly the type of mentality that scalpers want. As long as there are people who are willing to buy from scalpers, scalpers will always exist. And as you know, telling scalpers to simply stop isn't really effective now, is it? Even more than scalpers, there are tons of bigger reasons why you can't find product. Pokemon is just simply not printing enough to fulfill demand. Distributors are raising their prices, meaning the cost gets passed down to you, the customer. PokeRev is not the one to blame for this current climate, neither is Leonhard, neither is Real Breaking Nate. They might be responsible to some extent, but that is probably 1% of the actual major issue. It's simple supply and demand. There is way more demand than there is supply. There's a lot to criticize big YouTubers for, but hyping up sets and influencing the prices of them isn't one. I feel like the Pokemon company is so out of reach, and people know that begging will pretty much achieve nothing, that they're inevitably forced to take their frustrations out on a YouTuber who is inconsequential in the bigger picture, but they are more accessible for the people that are wanting to vent their frustrations. For example, there were 3 million people on the Pokemon Center site that were waiting to get their hands on pre-orders for the new black and white set that's coming out. And the fact is, a few months ago when there was a new set releasing, maybe like Twilight Masquerade, the number was probably 1/100th of the amount that we saw today. So of course you're gonna have a shortage of products. In the same way, if you keep cramming in people in your home, eventually you're gonna run out of space. Now let's move on to the second point of criticism that was levied against PokeRev. PokeRev said that we are cooked, even though he isn't really affected by the current lack of product, since he's a famous YouTuber who also has distribution. Now, first off, I'm not really going to take the title into consideration because he never really explicitly said that we are cooked. He was just making an observation that Pokemon cards in general might be cooked, which is kind of true, to be honest. And also, it's just a title, so I don't really care. I think most people had a problem with what he said in the video itself.
The official release date for this set is going to be July 18th, 2025. We are just... We're cooked. We are actually, like, we are cooked. Like, fully cooked on this thing.
So before I get my opinion, let me try to vocalize why people have a problem with this. So people don't like that he said we are cooked because he is in a fortunate position where he doesn't need to worry about the current lack of products. And people are pointing out that this comes across as very tone deaf and fake. For example, this comment highlighted, Rev, guys, we are cooked. Me. No, Rev, you're gonna be fine. The rest of the community is cooked. To which Rev responds with, LeMayo, I'm still getting cooked medium rare, plus half the community cooks me whenever I open anything. Now, coming from PokeRev's perspective, when he said cooked medium rare, I think he was insinuating that he's in kind of a lose-lose position. Although he is fortunate enough to get products from distributors, he is still going to get flamed for opening them. But also, people are experiencing a heavy drought, so naturally, they're gonna feel pretty sad when they see a famous YouTuber open a lot of the set that they can't get, which is understandable. They're allowed to feel sad. But if you're gonna attack another creator, albeit PokeRev, Real Breaking Nate, Leonhard, or etc., for opening up a product that you can't get your hands on, I just feel like it's slightly unnecessary and a little unjustified. I also think that people are severely overestimating how much stuff YouTubers get from their heavenly distribution. They don't always sell for MSRP. I know that's kind of a misconception, but as of recently, I've seen a lot of people report that distributors sell boxes for like 200 bucks, and they would only give them a case. Take Brian from PokéNE, for example. He only got 6 boxes of Destined Rivals from his distro. But I know that's not really the point that people are trying to make, but I also think it's just an important tidbit of information. Most people just had a problem with PokeRev saying, "We are cooked." And to be fair, it does lead people to interpreting it that way. I think he could have definitely said it better by saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna be all right, but you guys are gonna probably be more cooked than me." Yeah, that could have solved all the problems, all the criticism. But at that point, I don't think Rev was intentionally trying to victimize himself and, specifically group himself with the people less fortunate. I think he understands how much more fortunate he is than the common person in this hobby. And I just don't think him saying "we are cooked" says otherwise. However, yeah, I think he could have said it a lot better so people just wouldn't get the wrong idea. I think he's getting cooked compared to his standards. Maybe getting lower allocation from distros, getting more flack for opening up this set. The general public is getting cooked compared to their standards as well. Just not getting any product to begin with. However, objectively, yes, the general public has it a lot worse, undeniably. And I do think Rev should hold some level of responsibility for what he said. Now, his intentions are a complete separate issue. I don't think he meant it in a way that says, "Hear he, I am also suffering. Please have sympathy for thee." I don't think that's the case. I like to believe that he was just simply getting excited for a set and recognized that it was going to be difficult for the public to get their hands on it. And recognized that it's also probably going to be difficult for him as well compared to the other sets in the past. But I also think he wasn't really thinking about it too much. Like I say, we're cooked in a lot of situations. I don't think he was using a psychological warfare tactic to garner sympathy from the public and say, "I'm one of you, chat." No, I don't think so. I just think he wasn't thinking about it too much, and it came across as a little bit more weird the more people were thinking about it. In general, though, I think the boom greatly radicalized a lot of people into only taking one side and inflating something to be far worse than it actually is. But this isn't just a new problem. I just think it's growing exponentially alongside with the growth of the hobby. The disproportionate amount of hate isn't just exclusive to PokeRev, in my opinion, either. Take the Leonhard situation, for example, where he traded a coin to a Moonbryon. I thought the main criticism of the video was definitely valid, but the internet did what the internet does best, and it made it into a far bigger issue than it needed to be. The more a situation evolves, the more the main criticism becomes distorted and tainted. And before you know it, people forget what they're even talking about because they include other unnecessary things into the conversation. And this is coming from a drama YouTuber too. I'm the main culprit of this. No one is forcing me to make videos about anyone. I shouldn't feel upset of how the public takes my opinion and how they distribute it. I just find it infuriating sometimes, but I'm still gonna continue sharing my opinion to the best of my abilities, regardless of what other people do with it. I'm no saint though. If there's a situation that warrants to get shitted on, in my opinion, well then I shall shit. That's a little tongue twister. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think this whole situation can be summarized in a very short sentence. No, famous Pokemon YouTubers are not magically inflating the prices of these products. Yes, PokeRev could have worded it a bit different. Anyway, that's pretty much about it. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you later, weebs. Bye!
せーのでもそんなんじゃダメもうそんなんじゃほら心は進化